All right, we're continuing the Parsha of the week, Parshas Nitzavim. I'm sorry, but today it was very late. Usually I give it at 3 o'clock every day, and today I have excuses. The reason I wasn't here at 3 o'clock, but let's continue. The Torah will not stop. So God is saying, I'm making a covenant with you, Jewish people. And Moses, of course, is telling the Jewish people that God is making this covenant with you. Get ready. Last week, we talked about what this covenant is. That in addition to the one on Mount Sinai, God's going to make it in what's called Mount Gerizim and Mount Avel, a curse and a blessing. And according to some opinions, he's going to make it that now all the Jews will be responsible, one for the other. And there'll be also additional power given to each Jew so that each one will be able to be responsible for each and every one of them. Okay, of course, this is a big problem. If everybody's responsible for everybody else, then that means that one person does a sin, so I'm responsible for everybody else. That's not so good. So let's see. Okay, this is where we ended up yesterday. God, he said, God is going to put you into this covenant that you will be for him for a people, and he will be for you for a God. And like he spoke to you, and as God promised your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, this is a very basic thing. The Jewish people, God makes this special covenant with the Jewish people. What is a special covenant with the Jewish people that he makes? And so, first of all, we talked about this before, but first of all, the main thing is that there's a God that cares and that he's personally involved in everybody's life. He really cares about what we do. And he really personally helps us. And the proof is he took us out of Egypt, took the Jews out of Egypt, and he gave them the Torah. So he basically chose the Jews to tell everybody what God really is. If you look at the religions, like in the East, religions in the East, some of them they're very spiritual and very altruistic and certainly devoted to the truth, but none of them really come to this idea. I don't know, maybe it was hidden from them, that God actually took the Jews out of Egypt. He picked one people, and he took these people out of Egypt, and he gave them the Torah. And now he's going to take them into the land of Israel. And he says that's only the beginning. That's only the beginning. God is making this eternal covenant with the Jews that eventually he's going to reveal himself in the world. In other words, what does it mean? That everyone up to now has the whole business wrong. They have the whole reason for life wrong. People live for themselves. And ideally, it's supposed to be that people live for the truth, which we see that's what everybody wants. You have somebody that plays music, a pianist. If he thinks about himself, who wants to see him? He wants somebody who's devoted to the music. You see a doctor, he's not thinking about himself. He's devoted to health. A judge is supposed to be devoted to honesty, to truth, to justice. People not thinking about themselves, but rather devoting themselves to something greater than themselves. Well, here's the greatest devotion and the greatest unity that can possibly be, which encompasses everything else. In other words, instead of just being a doctor as being the highest value, or a lawyer being, or a musician, or an athlete, the highest value, here he is. Because don't we know only too well there's a lot of people that succeed in life and they've gotten these tremendous levels and they're tremendously unhappy people. A lot of them are, here we just saw, 70 years ago, what is it? The German people were the most cultured and the most advanced, and they just brought the whole world into this bloodbath of just murdering, like he murdered like 50 million people, something like that. They murdered themselves also. And so there has to be something which is a higher value, a higher type of a harmony, a higher type of a beauty that's available, but it requires self-sacrifice. And that's what the Jewish people are supposed to be for. That was the uniqueness of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they had this total self-sacrifice for the truth. And this they inherited to everyone. But this self-sacrifice requires that a person has a connection with God, which is above understanding. And that's this bris. That's this covenant. So that's what it says. That I'm making you now a covenant. what did God do? He took the Jews out of Egypt, and they were in the desert. Things were wonderful in the desert. And he said, I want you to be in this terrible, disappointing, false world and to transform it into the beautiful place it's supposed to be. Like learning to play an instrument. You know, you have a piano and you don't know how to play it, so there's no point in the whole thing. A person that practices knows how to piano, so it can make beauty out of it. The whole world is an instrument that can be used. That's supposed to be the point of the Jewish people. Just one thing we see very interesting. I mean, another thing you can learn from the Holocaust and from Germans, like the Nazis, like we said, they were tremendously intelligent people and cultured people and advanced people, and they were spiritual people. They had the religions, and they had their the mysticism, you know, the astrology and their astrologers. I mean, before I was religious, I read a little bit about these, you know, they had these organizations and the cosmic conception and all this stuff. And, you know, they were very, but the problem is they didn't get to the, you know, so they hated the Jews. What's the thing of hating the Jews? So you hate the Jews, okay, so good, you want to hate the Jews, you hate the Jews, but they destroyed everything. They were like masters of destruction. And the Jewish people are supposed to be the representatives of the creator, not of the destroyer. And they just loved destruction. And they were really good at it. They were really excellent at destruction, at making war and bombs and planes, and it was like an ideal for them. So we see that the idea of the Jewish people is to be partners with the creator and see the value in every single human being, and that every human being is different, but every human being is also the same because we're all creations of God. Okay, ready? So now God, in order to do this, you have to have a covenant. This covenant means you're attached to the truth above understanding, and the truth is the Torah. That's what God. Now, just one more thing I want to say. You have to know who the Jewish people are. Right? The Jewish people. There has to be a definition what a Jew is. A Jew just can't be whatever you decide. Anyone who just decides he's a Jew is a Jew. There's very exact, God made a covenant with the Jewish people, but it has to be very clear what the Jewish people is. Right? The Jewish people is not, there were the people of the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. They weren't the Jewish people. They came out with the Jews, they were part with the Jews, right? They were not part of the Jewish people. They were the servants, right? They weren't Jewish, officially the Jewish people. A Jewish servant sort of is, but it has to be very clear. And that's why the whole idea of the Shulchan Aruch is so important. That's why the Rebbe was, the Rebbe is the Moshiach. The Rebbe fought this incredible battle against weakening the definition of what a Jew is. Weakening a definition. A Jew, for those who know, the Jew, either a person has a Jewish mother, and what does it mean, the Jewish mother? That her mother was Jewish, etc., or a person that converted according to the Shulchan Aruch. You have to know who the Jews are. The Jews were the ones that God made this covenant with. Okay, we're going to get into idolatry eventually anyway, but that's the big. I mean, there are bigger enemies, but that's the bigger enemies. But one of the big enemies of Judaism, I mean, the basis of it is to be an enemy of Judaism is Christianity. The whole essence of that religion is to destroy Judaism, to destroy the Torah, to destroy the opposite of what good is, and to destroy the idea of what a Jew is, to get married. You can get married to anybody you want to. Where's the definitions? If you don't have the Torah, then there's no definitions. Okay. In order to establish today for a people, you will be for God's people, and he will be for you as a God. Like you said, in order that, like he swore to your fathers, Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, not just alone, you alone, but God is making this covenant with all people, with all of your parents in the future. So a lot of people ask a question. He says, I mean, this makes no sense. How can you make an oath with the Jewish people in the future generations? They're not even there yet. So he says the answer is very simple. That first of all the souls were going to be there. All of the souls of the Jewish people that were going to be incarnated in bodies, they were all there. They were all there. They were all there together. They were at Mount Sinai, and they were there here also. But then there's another thing, and that is that What is this oath? What is the oath? God is going to explain that all of these other religions are abominations. And we'll see. So in other words, it's not just that God is saying you have to just do what I say and don't ask any questions. No. You have to warn the previous generation. You're responsible for the previous generation to keep them away from the selfish abomination of the other religions. That you just become tremendously selfish and, not even the Eastern religions. It's just thinking about yourself, achieving, some level of consciousness. So not, all the people that are there with us today, and also and also those who are not with us today. Shlishi, ki atem yudatem, because you know, et asher yavshavnu, that which we lived in the land of Egypt, and et asher avarnu b'kirav hagoyim, and you know what happened among those non-nations, the other nations, what they do. Asher avartem. But Tirut Shikutsehem, you can see the disgusting things that they do and that they worship. Ve'et gilu lehem, and also their gods. Eitz ve'evan, wood, stone, kesef azav, silver and gold that are with them. Here's the Ram, it says, Tirut Shikutsehem, you can see, because you've seen what the non-Jews worship. So you might think to yourself, looks good to me. I will do it. That's what the HaChaim says. Yes, that's what the HaChaim says. You have to understand, why does it have to give the reason that The Ramban says that maybe somebody, that's what he says, maybe somebody is going to decide to worship one of these idols. Therefore, it says that, talking about the generations after you, and others, to tell them that, right, you might think, hey, one second, the generations after this, they weren't there. You can't obligate a person to do something that's not in front of him. Right? A person, you can't say, okay, you're going to have a son. When the son is born, right, he's going to have to work for me for 50 years. You can't do that, right? Your son is not allowed to eat any strawberries. You can't make an oath on somebody not in front of them. So what is this going to do? So he says that's what it means. You've seen that the disgusting things that the non-Jews do for their religions. So therefore, you're not obligated. You're not obligating the future generations to do nonsensical things and worship these gods. You're trying to keep them away from bad things. And that's why I'm telling you, you've seen what they do. Keep your children away from this as well. They're also obligated. You've seen the disgusting things that they do. Maybe some of you, okay, so here we go. These Jews, they got out of Egypt and they received the Torah, and God provided them in the desert, and God defeated all their enemies, and God made a covenant. He's done everything for the Jews. Says Moses, I know what you're thinking. I know what you Jewish people are thinking. Maybe there's some of you, a man or a woman or a family or a tribe, that his heart is going to go today away from God. And he'll go to serve these other, the gods of the other nations. Maybe you have Shoresh Pora Roshvan Ana. Maybe you have the root of like this wild, bitter plant. The roots are growing. This is, what does it mean? Therefore, I have to give you an oath. Because maybe your heart, it says, Asher Levavo, that your heart will go after. What does it mean, your heart? That your heart will say, listen, I don't want to accept this covenant with God. I don't want to be a special people. I want to be just have a good time. Let me live my life, right? That's what it says. What is the shorish, the root of this wild, bitter plant? A root which grows a very bitter, like a weed. And it's something like sinews. Here it says the HaChaim, the Torah is warning about the thoughts of idolatry. He's warning, don't even let the thoughts enter into your heart. That's why, for instance, interestingly enough, as bad as it is, the Jewish people had a big lust for idolatry. The Jewish people loved it. The Jewish people loved idolatry, and something just really drew them to it. And God knew it. So he's trying to give them power not to get involved in it. Let's just do a little bit quicker over here. And it could be that when a person hears this, the curses on Har Grizim, you know, that you're going to go into the land of Israel, you're going to hear these blessings and curses, that he's going to bless himself in his heart, and he's going to say, I'm going to do whatever I want to, in order safot arava at the tzmeya. Says in order to join the satisfied to the thirsty. The Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, says that the thirsty, that's the Jews. The Jews are always thirsty for godliness. And the non-Jews, they can be satisfied easily with godliness. You know, tell them go to church or something like that. That's enough for them. But a Jew, no matter what, he's always going to be thirsty for godliness. So he says, well, maybe I'll just join on, right, the thirsty ones to the satisfied ones. Rashi explains it a little bit more. He says a person might bless himself in his heart, and he'll think in his heart that, you know, I can do whatever I want to. These curses won't happen to me. They won't happen to me because what? I mean, I'm also a creation. I was created. I was also even by Mount Sinai. I heard the Torah. I was with the Jews. Now enough. I can do whatever I want to. This, by the way, was the reason that they rebelled against Moses, because that's the nature of the Jews. The Jews are stiff-necked people. What does it mean, stiff-necked? It means that once they make up their mind to do something, it could be that they'll give their life for it. So if a Jew decides he's going to serve God, nothing will stop him. But on the other hand, if a Jew decides he's not going to, then all the logic in the world is not going to change his mind. Because you have to understand that serving idols and these things, it feels good. And a person wants to feel good. I don't know why it feels good, but it certainly does, because it says that there was very, very, it was a very big stumbling block for the Jews, especially in the first time of the first temple. In order, it says that I will join the satisfied to the thirsty. I will add, here he says it different than what I said, a punishment. God will punish those people who do by accident. That's the rava, the accident, accidentally. And okay, that God says I could pass over that. But what? Eventually it'll come, if I pass over the accidental sins, then eventually they're going to start doing it on purpose. So you know what? I'll wait and I'll pay off the whole entire thing. That's what he says. Suppose God says, I'm going to wait. Harava means shogeg, accidentally. That he does it like a person that's drunk. He's satisfied. He doesn't need the sins. He just sort of, does it by the way. And smeya, this is a person that he does knowledgeable. He understands what he's doing with the desire. And God will not want to forgive him because the anger of God will be against that person. And all of the curses that are written in this book and God will wipe his name out from under the heavens. And the HaChaim says what it means is that the person will be punished under the heavens, but above the heavens, God always still loves the Jews. So God will wipe out the person from below the heavens. In other words, the bad things that he did, God will wipe that out. But God will separate him for bad from all the different tribes of Israel, like all the curses of this covenant that are written in this book. and the last generation, the sons that are going to come after you, and the non-Jews that are come to the land of Israel, and they're going to see what happened, right? All of the destruction that God made in the first temple, second temple. And everyone will say, the non-Jews will say, right, wow, this is terrible. Gafris v'melech, salt, what is it? Salt and sulfur will burn up the whole land. It won't be plantable. Nothing will grow in it. Not even weeds will grow up, just like Sodom v'Amorah, Sodom and Gomorrah, they call it in English. Admon Savoyim, God turned over in his anger. This from here we learn that there was not Sodom and Gomorrah were really big metropolises. There were other cities also there together with them. And not, all the non-Jews will come and they'll say, why did God do this to these Jews? Why is he so angry? I mean, the non-Jews will say, we do the same thing the Jews do. We're also licentious and we worship idols and we do these things. We don't get such terrible punishments as they do. And they'll say, because they left this covenant that God with their forefathers, that he made with them, and he took them out of Egypt. And they went and they served other gods and they bowed down to them, gods which were not known. Gods did not give to them, right? New things, the prophets and everything, they worship the one God, told everybody. All of a sudden somebody comes up and says, hey, there's another God, worship this person, worship this idol, worship this power. And God got angry at this land to bring on them all these curses that are written in this book. And God spread them all over the world with anger and with tremendous, fury. And he sent them to other lands just like this day. So the hidden things are for God and the revealed things are for us and our children. A person can say, listen, what I'm responsible for what everybody else thinks. There's no end to it. He says, don't worry, the hidden things, that's to God. But the revealed things, that's on us. That's our responsibility. We have to do everything that's in the Torah. That's our responsibility. And the thoughts are bad enough, but don't let the thoughts come into action. And you know what's going on inside of you. You don't know what's going on inside of the other person, so you're not responsible for that. But you are responsible for what other people do. And that's what Rashi says. A person might say, what are we going to do? You're punishing everybody because it's just one person has thoughts. You said your heart shouldn't be. And then it says, you see all the destruction that this happened. I don't know what's going on in my friend's heart. How can I be punished on the hidden things? So that's what it says. Don't worry about it. God punishes each and every individual. And the reason that there's group punishment is because everybody's doing the sin. Everyone is doing the sin. Therefore, and also another thing is if you see someone doing the sin and you don't punish that person, then those people who just let it go by will also get punished. If you look in the Torah, there's little spots on Nistaros. It says, where is it? There are, what is it? Nakud al lanu ubanenu. Here it says, lanu uban. If you look in the Torah, there's little dots over it. Lanu ubanenu. Us and our children, to tell you that also the revealed things, the multitudes will not be punished until they cross over into the land of Israel. As soon as they accept this oath on Mount Gerizim and Mount Abel, then they become mixed one with the other and everybody becomes responsible. So that's what happened in the land of Israel, that everyone became responsible one for the other. God is very exacting. But nevertheless, don't worry. It says everyone will return, do tshuva. Even you spread out the whole, if you're spread out the whole, and you'll all return back to God and you will listen to his voice. That is a promise that God is giving to every Jew in the future. As we'll talk about more tomorrow. Sorry for the brevity of this class, but according to the conditions, this is not so bad. Not so bad. God bless you all. Have a good day with Moshiach now.